Hey guys, it's me Seren, back with another car video. So I'm driving down a long hill. So I have my windows rolled down, but I'm going down this hill. I'm going pretty slow, but I don't know if you guys can hear it or what you can hear or what the sound is like, but whatever. We're just gonna go with it while we're going with it. I want to preface this video by saying y'all need to learn how to talk to people on the internet, for real. I know you guys believe that like the internet is like not a real place or whatever, and I mean I guess like, you know, like it's not, like in a sense, but y'all talk to people real reckless on the internet and y'all are gonna catch the wrong person one day and they're gonna like find you in real life and like slap the shit out of you. Like, I've had to tell several people recently, anything you would not say to me in person, do not say it to me in the comments. Don't DM it to me, because I'm going to put you in your place. And if I put you in your place, don't then get offended talking about why this fucking tree. And if I put you in your place, don't then get offended talking about why am I talking to you like that. Like, y'all have the game all fucked up. You obviously have absolutely no home training whatsoever. I feel sorry for your parents. Anyways, so somebody sent me a screenshot of a tweet that this girl had, like, they were like, oh, I think this girl watched your video because she like put out this tweet. Like, I guess she like watched the video and like homegirl decided like she had enough. She was like, you know what? She watched my video. She was like, bitch, and another thing, I'm tired of these foreign blacks saying the N-word. Like, you can't say that. So somebody sent me the tweet and they asked me what did I think, and I put the tweet on my Instagram stories because I was like, oh, what does everybody think? And then I was like, I'll do a video about it or whatever. And if you guys want to hear like some of people's like actual responses, we could do like another video where I like read what people say if you want. But it was like a variation of responses, and it seemed like the responses mostly fell into three camps. The first camp was the people that were totally fine with it. They feel like, you know, anybody black can say it, whatever. Who cares? As long as it's not like non-black people saying it, it's fine. They don't care. The second camp was the people that they feel some type of way about it. Like, they feel uncomfortable about it, but at the same time, they feel like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that serious. If you run the risk of like getting called the N-word, then, you know, like, who am I to say that you can't say it? But those same people were more so, like I said, those people felt uncomfortable with it because a lot of those people seemed like they were of the mindset of, I'm uncomfortable with it because I see a lot of people using it without understanding the appropriate context. And, you know, I just see people throwing it around like all willy-nilly. And I see foreign blacks that are also telling people that it's fine if they say it. Like, you could say it because you're black, but like you're not American, so you can't be handing out nigger passes, I guess we could call them. So it was people that was just like, you know, people are not taking it seriously. They're just saying it to be cool. They don't really understand the gravity. I can't tell them what to do because they're black, but it makes me uncomfortable. I feel like the bulk of the responses that I got was in that second camp. And then it was like a third camp, which was the black Americans that were like, no, they felt the same way as the original girl in the tweet. Like, no, like, they can't say it. I don't want them saying it. I feel like it's awkward. I feel like it's uncomfortable. That's an American word. They don't understand the context. They don't understand the history. They don't have the same history as us. Even though they are black, that doesn't mean they get to say that. I don't think it's cool. And there was also a little bit of an overlap in between group 2 and group 3 with people even saying, and I don't think it's cool because they throw it around all willy-nilly. They don't know what it means. They're handing out passes. They shouldn't say it. And somebody also said something that I thought was like really, really interesting, where they were like, you know, you have a lot of foreign blacks that they want to, yet again, same thing we've been talking about, they want to say the N-word just to be cool, and they feel like they can say it because they're black, but at the same time, they also don't have even no issue with being called nigger by fucking white people and stuff like that because they're not black American, so they don't even think of it as an insult to them. You get what I'm saying? Like, they're cherry picking the cool, quote unquote, aspect of it because they're black, but then they be like, oh, but if somebody fucking says something about some, you know, some niggers. They're not talking about me because I'm not a black American, which I thought was like a fucking interesting ass fucking thing to say, which I had never thought of. Like, oh yeah, I bet you there are really people out there with that type of viewpoint, like, right? Like, it makes sense. Me personally, I've said this in videos before, I've always fallen in the camp of, if you run the risk of getting called it, I mean, I can't stop you from saying it. If you, like, you know, like, if you run the risk of getting called the N-word, which means if you are black, visibly black, because, like, if Logic said the N-word, I would not be okay with it. Sorry, I don't care. Like, if Kalani said that shit, I would not be okay with it. And Kalani had a whole song that was called Niggas, and people were like, bitch, are you even black? Like, you the main one always talking about I'm mixed with this, I'm mixed with that, I'm 1/8 Cherokee, I'm 1/17th balsamic vinaigrette, I'm fucking half white, I'm a third fucking Hispanic, and oh yeah, I throw in my supposed quote unquote black parent whenever, you know, I get the fucking feeling to do it, because, you know, Kalani's father is also dead, and none of us have seen any pictures of him, and none of us know anything about him. So for all we know, like, she could be lying. Like, that could be made up. None of us know, and there's no way to fucking confirm it. So, bitch, don't say the N-word. And she literally said she was going to stop saying it because it just made people confused, and she felt like it was taking attention away from her music because everybody was talking about her saying the N-word and talking about her race. And we all know that she's from fucking California, where all types of non-black fucking POC just love saying that shit like it's motherfucking going out of style, because that is also a part of that black American fucking culture and cool that they feel like they want. So the question is, do we feel like foreign blacks get a pass just because they're black? If you're a foreign black in America, which somebody also used that term, they were like, they should not be called black Americans, they should be called blacks in America. They were like, if you're a second generation black in America. I was like, ooh, look at y'all coming up with the terms. I love it. So it's like, if you're a black in America, especially in America, and you are running the risk of getting called the N-word, especially by some white racist Americans, I mean, I'm not going to tell you that you can't say it, but I do understand completely the trepidation that people have about that, because yet again, this gets back to this idea of double dipping, right? So you can say the N-word when you feel like it, but at the same time, if somebody calls you the N-word, you can also distance yourself by saying like, well, they talk about black Americans, I'm not a black American, so, you know, like stuff like that, or you don't have no understanding of the real gravity of the word because you're not American, you didn't grow up here, you came here, you know, like I've been called a fucking nigger. I've been called a nigger in Florida by a white trash redneck Floridian. This was after Trayvon Martin got killed. It was not cool. It was not a fun, cool experience. So to know that there are people that are picking the word up, they want the... And I did another video on the N-word, where in that video, really old video, one of my first, where in that video I talk about, you know, the whole thing about reclaiming a word like the N-word, right? And this is what I said in my video. I was like, the whole thing about it is the interpersonal relationships that people have with the word, right? So just like the interpersonal relationship that you have with the word mom, I can call my mother mom. Maybe you can't call my mother mom, but maybe if you have a good interpersonal relationship with my mother, you can call my mother mom. Or, you know, I can make fucking jokes about my mom. I can make a yo mama joke about my mom. You can't make a fucking joke about my mom. I could talk shit about my sister. You can't talk shit about my sister. You know, interpersonal relationships that we have with words are a real thing. And when it comes to the N-word specifically, the N-word specifically being nigga or nigger with the hard ER, not whatever variation of the word you have in your home country, because I saw a lot of, well, in our home country, they call us this, this, and this. That's cool. That's your word in your home country. We're talking about our word here because this is an American word. It's been exported globally, just like everything else, but it's an American word with an American context and an American history. So white Americans, specifically descendants of slave owners, have a particular relationship with that word. And us descendants of American chattel slavery have a particular relationship with that word. If you're not a descendant... Sorry, my phone died, and it might die again. I got it to turn back on for a minute, but it might die again. But yeah, it's like, if you're not a black American, descendant of American chattel slavery, you don't have the history with that word that I do. Yet again, getting into the history. Now, I'm not saying that that word can't hurt you. I'm not saying that that word is not used globally, because we all know that that word is used globally. Like, yes, like it is, like people were hitting me up like, well, I got called that in Europe and it hurt. I'm not saying that you didn't get called that in Europe or that it didn't hurt, but you don't have the history, the interpersonal relationship with that particular word that I do. You just don't have it. You don't have the history. You don't have the context. You know, you don't have to deal with the knowledge that fucking 75 years ago, you know, somebody in your family might have been strung up hanging from a tree in North Carolina while people fucking cut off his ears and his genitalia and lit his body on fire. And, you know, like, you don't have that. You don't have that. And it's weird to want to claim other people's pain and oppression. To me, it's something fucking weird about that. Like, I use the example of the word fucking kafir, which is a word that we all learned from The Color of Freedom on the Disney Channel. Now, if somebody calls, say, Trevor Noah a kafir, he might take that shit real serious. Like, he might be well within his rights to fucking whoop your ass, because that's his word. Like, he's South African. Like, that's his word. Like, he probably grew up hearing that shit a lot and knowing the fucking history of fucking South African apartheid, and like knowing the history of what was going on in that country, in his place of birth, in his country of origin, where he has history, where he has a real interpersonal relationship with that word. If you call Trevor Noah a kafir and he slaps the taste out of your mouth, I'm gonna just be like, you know, you were playing games. You were playing games, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Now, if somebody called me a kafir, I know it's a bad word. It probably would even still hurt my feelings. I don't know if I will have the knee-jerk reaction to square up, but like, if you call me the N-word, if a fucking white American calls me the N-word, like, yeah, bitch, we gotta square up. Like, the whole purpose of reclaiming the word was us specifically, with our historical context and interpersonal relationship with the word, reclaiming it for ourselves. Now, through the way that shit spreads globally from America outward, and again through this Pan-Africanism and this idea that we're all black and we're all the same and we all have access to black American culture, in addition to, yet again, just the fucking word getting out there, because it is an American word and everything American gets out there, people feel like they have this access. And that makes some people feel uncomfortable. And I don't know if I can say that they're wrong for feeling uncomfortable, you know? And I'm trying to, like, keep it steady so that the sound doesn't get too noisy. And somebody else left a really, really interesting comment that I liked a lot and wanted to post to you guys, where they were like, well, if we're talking about black American descendants of American chattel slavery as our own ethnic group, what stops the N-word from being an ethnic slur? So not just a racial slur that anybody black can say, but an ethnic slur, right? That only descendants of American chattel slavery can say. Which I thought was a fucking interesting ass point too, right? Like Jews, right? Like, it's a whole lot of nasty ass words out there for fucking Jew. I don't know too many, because I feel like black people don't use a lot of like nasty words for Jews. Nobody I knew really like knew any Jews or really even cared about like too many Jews. But I know there's like I know like white people like hate fucking Jews. They have like a lot of really nasty ass words for Jews. So can you imagine a white person saying like one of those really disgusting slur words for Jews and then being like, well, I can say that. We're both white. No. Like, can you imagine a white person saying to like a Romani person, you know, calling them a gypsy, which is a slur word. I really wish you guys would stop calling yourselves like bohemian gypsies and shit like that. It makes me cringe every time I see it. I really don't even like saying it out loud. But like, can you imagine like somebody saying that to like a Romani person and then being like, what's the big deal? We're both white. Like, there is such a thing as an ethnic slur. And it's just like really, really interesting to start thinking about, and even digging down deeper into that idea and concept, right? People also like to say, well, it doesn't really matter because our common enemy is white supremacy and our common enemy is what binds us together. One thing I find to be really, really interesting about that train of thought is a lot of people are against white supremacy. Like, non-black persons of color that still practice anti-black racism and like still hate black people, they can be against white supremacy. That doesn't mean that they're on my black ass side. Somebody left a comment that was like, not all white supremacists are white. So, we not all anti-black racists are white. We align ourselves because we say, well, the real enemy is white supremacy. Like, Jewish people are also against white supremacy, like white supremacist Nazis. It was like the Holocaust. That does not mean that Jewish people that are now seen as white in the United States don't still benefit from white privilege. They benefit now from the system of white supremacy here in the United States because they were able to come here and become white, work towards whiteness. The Italians, the Irish, people come to this country, they step on the backs of black Americans specifically, and they work their way towards whiteness. But like, at one point, all those people were also like the enemies of fucking white supremacy. And yet again, like Koreans, who I've talked about like really specifically, that like hate black Americans, they can be against white supremacy. Like, we have these like identifiers. Number one, a lot of people have whiteness at the center of their whole identity. I did a whole video about decentering white people from your life, from your identity, from your race, from your ethnicity, from your activism. Like if whiteness, or like this idea of white supremacy and fighting against white supremacy specifically, is at the center of your entire identity, all white people could disappear tomorrow and you will be lost in the world. Like, you will have no idea who you are as a person. You will have no idea what you're fighting for or what you're fighting against. If your whole identity is wrapped up in, well, the common enemy is white supremacy. Like, because if white people disappeared tomorrow and white supremacy disappeared tomorrow, like, we would still have to deal with like non-black persons of color that fucking practice anti-black racism against us. Period, full stop. We would still have to deal with all type of isms and fucking shit in our communities, like, period, full stop. So instead of fucking discovering our racial and ethnic identity for ourselves, somebody else have a comment that was like, the diaspora is supposed to mean the spread of black people throughout the world, not the spread of one black culture throughout the world, which was another fucking brilliant ass comment. Like, instead of us focusing on ourselves and what is our own fucking, again, our different ethnic identity gonna be, like, we can all still be one race, like the black race, but we can also identify by ethnicity, by nationality. We can figure out what are our individual strengths and weaknesses, like, instead of just centering like whiteness so much in our lives, and this idea of like, well, I really don't care, like, we're all the same, we're all suffering the same way, we're all having the same experience, we're all fucking aligned against white supremacy, so that makes us all the same. Like, no, we're not all the same. We're not all the same, and we're not even all the same as like other types of people that are also aligned against white supremacy but are also aligned against us because we're black. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's and I know there's going to be people that say, well, this is stupid, a stupid thing to like quibble over, but it's just part of a larger conversation about identity. What is your identity? Who are you? Who are you outside of white people? How are you going to grow strong outside of them? Just like in my integration video, I said integration was a mistake. It put us next to white people and really made them the center focus of our thoughts, instead of this idea of building up our own communities and building up our own ethnic enclaves, if that's what we're gonna do, creating these black global strongholds, if that's what we're gonna do. It just put us right up next to white people who we made the center of our whole fucking universe. And I just like really want to encourage people to start like thinking around that. Maybe we went off topic, but if you guys want another video with me reading some of the comments about this, I could totally do it. I also did a part 2 of my Black Americans video with Ken. If you guys want to see that, let me know. And I'm gonna go before my phone dies again. All right, bye, peace.